Hugo, thanks for joining me, Elixir Friends, man. I really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. I'm happy to talk.
Yeah. Um, so we don't know each other that well, right? I think the first time I met you was ElixirConf this year, and I don't even know that we got to talk that much. So I've been dying to just chat with you. Um, I think you're probably very well known in the community. And my guess is mostly because of Elixir Radar. Do you think that's the most popular thing that everybody knows you from, or where do people come up and talk to you and say
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
X
I
person?
think yeah. So in the Elixir community, yeah, maybe probably people know me from the Elixir Radar, the
Yeah,
newsletter that I've been running for a while. Um, but in terms of Elixir itself, I'm actually in the community, maybe a little bit behind the scenes since the very beginning. Um,
yeah,
because yeah, we can talk more about that as well. Since
yeah, yeah.
but
Tell
yeah,
me.
like at this, yeah. So it started like my involvement of Elixir since the beginning. Because yeah,
Right.
we all know that Giuseppe created Elixir, but when he started to work on Elixir, he was working in this company that we co-founded together called Plataformatec. We
Yeah.
started the company in 2009. Before that, we were college friends, so we met at the
Yep.
first year in college,
How many
and I
co-founders were there in Plataformatec? Sorry,
we were four. Yeah,
four.
Jose, George, Marcelo, and myself. So three of
Oh, okay.
us were technical, like engineers,
Uh-huh.
myself included, and Marcelo was like the business guy. So we
Gotcha.
started in four people. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I knew you were the co-founder, so I knew you were early on. And I think I've met George before, so I guess three out of four.
Yeah, yeah, I
That
think besides besides Jose, I think George was the first one who attended an Elixir Conf US, for example.
okay.
So yeah, and I think he was back then he was more publicly involved in Elixir
Uh-huh.
compared to me. But yeah, because so when Jose started to work in Elixir was 2011 and start like as a personal he was doing on his free time. But in
Uh-huh.
2012 he came back to us, the other co-founders of Plataformatec, and like we actually just pitched us to make this so he can work full time on the project.
Yeah.
And it's same in like so yeah, the rest of history, but we agreed, and then he started to work on his full time on the project. And that's how it started. Like officially, the idea was to make a like research and development project of Platform Tech, led and
Yeah.
started by Jose. And this was in 2012. I was I was working with our client projects, even
Okay.
developing or leading our teams, our engineering teams.
Uh-huh.
But 2 years after that, on 2014, I started to work on other areas inside of Plataformatec. So I started to work
Okay.
on I created our marketing organization, and then a couple of years
Oh,
later, our sales organization. So I was like my full time job for between 2014 and 2019, which was the last year of the company, was in marketing and sales, like leading the
oh,
teams.
interesting.
Yeah, so yeah, maybe that's why I was not coding during the job, but I kept coding like just for myself, even developing
Yeah.
some internal stuff for our sales and marketing teams. A little bit, actually, just mostly add-ons for Google spreadsheets. But
You're living in Google spreadsheets. You
yeah, I
gotta
was that
improve it.
kind
Yeah,
of
it makes
person for
sense.
a while. It was fun. It was fun, and it helped me to do the others, like the helped me to learn more about the other parts of a business as well. So yeah,
Yeah. How big was Plataformatec at that point? Like when you were doing a lot of sales and marketing, how big was because you were
yeah,
consulting, right? And
Yeah, we were
I knew of
consulting.
Plataformatec from Rails days because y'all had what was the library?
A device?
The form, yeah, devise for
Simple
sure, and
form.
then the simple form, right? Yeah, yeah, of
Yeah,
course. So I knew, we was I worked in Thoughtbot in those days, so
yeah, yeah.
also a lot of open source stuff. But anyway, sorry, how big was Plataformatec back in that time?
So in our last year, 2000, by the end of 2020, 2019, we were about 75 people in total. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay, and where
75
was that?
people.
Everybody in Brazil? Because it was in person, right? This was before we
Yes,
all went
yes,
remote.
yes, yes, yes. So we had only one office here in São Paulo, Brazil. That's where
Yeah.
I'm still living. And
Okay.
most of us were working in person in our office. Just a few of us were working remotely. I think so. In the last couple years, we started to build this. We call it our R&D team, so
Okay.
our research and development team. So besides Jose, we also had two people working with us together with Jose, mostly on open source. And that was Wojtek Mak, who's still working with us at Dashbit.
Okay.
So he
We
was,
so Wojtek started working a Dashbit,
yeah, no,
but not a
he actually
Plataformatec.
he was working at Plataformatec.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting. I didn't realize
yeah,
that. Okay.
yeah. So both Wojtek Mak and Marlo Saraiva, the person who created
Yep.
the Surface library, so
Yep.
they were both in work remotely as well. Marlos from Fortaleza, another city in Brazil, and Wojtek
Mhm.
from Poland, as like Giuseppe. So three people only, remotely probably. Yeah, and the rest was in our office
In your
in a
office.
hybrid like model.
Got it. How did you like the sales marketing side of things? I think
Um,
it's super
y-
interesting.
yeah, I'm grateful that I did it, and
Uh-huh.
I can say that after working with those areas for like even 5 or 6 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, I still like marketing. Like I think marketing
Uh-huh.
is very cool. Um, I even considered that we sold the company to work full time on marketing, like mixing tech and marketing, something like
Yeah.
that. And but sales was helpful for me, but I wouldn't work full time on sales. So um, I did it. I was one of the founders.
Right.
So as founders, we did anything that we needed to grow the company.
So- right. Someone had to do it, right? Someone had
Yeah.
to do
So
it.
the one
Yeah.
base like that, we're starting to we're stopping to grow like we wanted to. And I basically discovered this thing called marketing. So I said to our co-founders, "Hey, we don't have a sales problem. Um,
Yeah.
we have a marketing problem. We need to generate more leads." And then I found about this lead generation thing that
Uh-huh.
was an area inside marketing, besides branding and everything else. So I was doing some research on that, like reading blog posts, and because I was the one telling the founders, they like turned back to me and say, "Okay, why don't you do this?"
Do it. Yeah. We need it. Sounds like you're
Yeah.
interested. Wow.
So
Okay.
that's so yeah. So I started to appreciate a lot marketing and sales as well. But I know sales is hard, and so yeah, I after all that time, I like more marketing than sales. But anyway, still probably the most fun thing to do um, for me is still like coding, like
Yeah.
programming. Is yes, it's interesting because having working full time on those other areas. Um, so when you're doing programming, you can get the feedback of your work like almost instantaneously. Like
Yeah.
yeah, if you're doing tests, automated tests, like you write a test, it's read, and then write
Get
the
the
code,
feedback. Yeah.
and then you get feedback that you're doing your work. You're moving forward.
Yeah.
In marketing, it can take. anything between 3 months to maybe years to get some feedback about if you're doing right or not. Sales is a little bit
Right.
quicker, depending on the sales cycle. Maybe it's like a week, a month, a quarter, uh, at most
What
12 months.
what do
But
you
yeah,
consider sales? Like once you've established contact with a potential client and then sort of that sales cycle of maybe talking
yeah,
to
yeah.
potential
So
buyers and preparing the
yeah,
project, because if we're doing
yes,
consulting, it's like,
as
yeah, yeah, gotcha. Okay.
exactly, yeah. So at Plataformatec, we have this role called account executive and
Okay.
SDRs, sales development
Uh-huh.
representatives. So account
Yeah.
executives, they receive it like they went to meetings and build proposals and write
Uh-huh.
contracts and all of that stuff. They are in charge of what we call a sales opportunity.
Got it.
So
So how many
that's
people
one
were
of
worked in that area?
so account executives, I think we had two. So
Okay.
we also had two SDRs. Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, so we organized ourselves between Brazil and so we had a team working for Brazilian customers and a team working for US based customers. So
Uh-huh.
one account is active for US, one account is active for Brazil, as far as I can remember. So like,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
But we also separated like the roles of if you're getting new clients is for the account executive, and if you're getting repeating businesses from your current customers, then was the job of what we call it engagement manager is like an account manager.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So how many because you said you had about 75 people, right? How many were developer, like people working on the consulting versus
Yeah.
people working on everything
So
everything else?
yeah. So in our main department, we call it the
Yeah.
projects department. It was about I don't know maybe 50 people.
Okay.
Yeah, 50 people, and most of them develop maybe 30, 35, 40 developers, something like that. That's
Got it.
because we also had agile project managers.
Okay.
We
Yep.
offer a lot of
Gotcha.
agile consultancy for in Brazil. And we also had these engagement managers. They were like managers of the team composed of developers and project
Okay.
managers.
Okay.
Yeah, about
Got
50
it.
people in the main department, and the rest was sales, marketing, HR, and yeah, and administrative.
Got it. And how did y'all decide to sell the company? It sounds like y'all were doing pretty well. Like that's a big size, 75 people. For consulting, I think especially because consulting, I feel like there's these hard limits that are hard to break out of.
Yeah.
Um, but I think 75 is pretty big. Um, yeah. Why the decision to sell, or how did
Yeah.
that happen? Was it? Are y'all
Yeah.
happy? Are you happy with that you sold it?
Yeah, I'm happy. Yeah, it was
That's good. Okay, good, good. That's the
yeah,
first thing,
no,
right?
yeah, that's the first that's a very good question. Like, were you happy with how it ended up happening? So it was 4 years ago, maybe. We're yeah, 20 December 20, yeah, almost 5 years ago, actually. Wow. Um, so it started like so it was not the first time that another company brought the idea to buy Plataformatec. So we started in 2009. We sold the company in 2000 by the end of 2019, January 2020. That was before the pandemic. Um,
Like before.
and
Yeah,
yeah, like
yeah,
two,
yeah.
2 or 3 months before, I even felt very grateful that I didn't have to manage a whole company. Oh, the beginning of the pandemic was very, very hard.
Right. Through that
So
transition and everything. Yeah, that's hard.
I felt kind of lucky actually. But so from time to time, a company like would bring the idea for us. So like maybe it was a merge, maybe it was an acquisition. So, in a nutshell, in July 2019, this big consultancy here in Brazil brought this idea of acquiring slash merging with us. They were like 10 times our company. They had 1,000 people something, and it brought us the idea. Okay, are we open to do this or not? So we talked between the partners of the company, and we saw, okay, we are. I think we're open to that. But if we're going to do it, we need to bring more companies. We need to check if more companies will be interested. That's like
Right.
a good tactics for winning your those kind of deals.
Right.
So we
You
ended
see
up
if
talking.
the probably better prices, right? Like if multiple
Exactly.
people are interested in
Yeah,
all this
you can
stuff,
get.
and you get
Yeah,
a
you can
better
get.
sense maybe of the market value of your company, all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's so we reached out to one of our customers. Back it was a company called Nubank in Brazil. They are like a
Yeah.
big fintech, big bank actually, and that's how it started. And we ended up selling to them. And the idea, so the first
That's
one,
amazing.
they wanted to acquire the whole business because they were
Uh-huh.
also in consultancy.
Okay.
But Nubank, they were in a different business. They're their
Right.
bank. So they acquired us because of the team, the projects team.
Got it.
They started since the beginning using Clojure, which is kind of
Okay.
interesting as well. I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
they're probably the biggest case on the Clojure community, or one of the biggest, probably hundreds of people doing Clojure there.
Okay.
And yeah, so and what's kind of fast actually. We started to talk with them. I don't know, August, September, and by December we had the contract signed. And we were
Wow.
their yeah, and we were their
That
first
fast.
acquisition. And we were lucky as well because it was, I think they were starting to think about that. So after they acquired Plataformatec, they also acquired another very well-known consultancy in another community, the Cognitech, the ones
Oh,
who,
interesting.
yeah, they want that's the company. I think they were founded by the guy who created Clojure.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is Rich Hickey the closure? That am I making that up?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. I
Anyway,
think
not
so.
important. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so it was good for us, both in terms of financial terms. And I would say that was not easy because like this was our baby, like our
Yeah.
life, actually our life project. Made basically my whole career
Right.
was working in platform tech. Starting with we tried to create another company before, but it didn't work. Um, and then we had to say goodbye to that. So it was hard for us and for
Yeah.
the employees actually. Lots
Yeah. I
of
bet.
people, yeah, lots of people. Some were not very that happy with that, but with the benefit of the hindsight, I'd say that everyone is in a good position right now. Yeah, in
Yeah.
terms of
And
yeah,
you can't. You're never gonna make everyone happy if you sell the company, right? Unless
yeah,
everyone is flush with money, I guess, or something. I don't even know. But
yeah,
right, like if every employee for some reason would have, I don't know. I just think it always happens. I think when you sell, there's gonna be people who I don't know who wouldn't want to sell it or who wouldn't want to be part of that. Um, but that's awesome. And how long before you all decided to do something else or like you know
yeah,
how did you decide? Did you have a lot of free time? I don't even know. This is so
yeah,
interesting to me
yeah.
when
It's
people
it's
sell something.
interesting. Yeah. So I think 2 years. So actually, for years, I thought that my desire was to
Uh-huh.
create um, a product around Elixir, like some product for Elixir developers,
Okay. Yeah.
and we couldn't do that. We didn't. But by the end of like, I think that was the last 2 years of the company, we create a new service called Elixir Development Subscription. That's the
Yeah.
one who Dashbits continues to offer. Um,
Right.
and it was not like it wasn't like was not a development service. It was like a productized service. So
Right.
we are kind of approaching a little bit more closer to developing a product. And when we sold the company, I was talking to Jose, and I was so I I'm 100% in love with Elixir since the very beginning. So I wanted to continue
Uh-huh.
to work with Elixir. And I was talking to him that maybe we could create this new company and maybe we could build a product, like
Yeah.
maybe based on open source or something. And we kind of talked about starting Dashbit together. Um, but at the end, I think I wanted to create a product, and he wasn't like rushing to this. Like he wanted to make a little bit slower, maybe not a product, maybe just continue the service that we had before.
Uh-huh.
So I thought, okay, that's not okay. So I'm gonna take a sabbatical. So I decided to. So Josette right away started this new company called Dashbit that we probably
Yep.
will all know
Yep.
at these days. With the people that were already working with us. So he started and Wojtek continued to work on this new company and Marlos as well. So there were three of them in the beginning, and I took the sabbatical. So I decided to okay, let me like take a pause and think about life and think about what I want to
Uh,
do with my career. And I gave myself like 9 months initially of money to spend on this and see where it would go.
yeah.
And along that journey, I wanted a way to keep working in the Elixir community. So I asked my co-founders if I could continue to work on Elixir Radar just by myself, because Elixir
Yeah.
Radar, the newsletter, was a project that we started at Plataformatec.
Right, right, right.
And I was the one in the beginning as well. So I
Were
wanted
you
to
always
was
running
it
Elixir Radar? Even in Plataformatec?
um I was the one who brought the idea and
Yeah.
working on it, but I was not on the day-to-day operations. We had
Okay.
different people from the development team, and the marketing team was responsible for publishing and that kind of stuff. But the
Gotcha. Okay.
curation, the
Yeah.
curation, I was not doing what I'm doing at this moment, which is the curation, the publishing, like the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, it was like a project that both marketing and developers worked together.
Makes sense. Right.
Um,
Okay.
so I wanted a good excuse to keep in touch, like at least every week with the community.
Yeah.
So that's why how I ended up continue to work on the transitioned the Elixir from Paradigm Attack to myself, and it continues
Okay.
that way. And then I started to okay, so now this is a personal project. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to monetize it because I still need to make money. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
uh, so that's how I started to try to monetize it and start to work, like to help me with my finances. And I gained it like more runway for my sabbatical because of that.
Oh, got it.
And started to
Yeah.
do and I started to do some consulting as well, but marketing consulting for startups here in Brazil.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like
So the marketing chops
positioning.
are still
Yeah,
paying off.
they,
Yeah.
'cause they did that, and there, so because of consulting and Elixir Radar, I was able to just continuing the sabbatical for like twice the number of months that I thought in the beginning.
Okay.
Um, I thought about starting this other startup that ended up not working, and that's by then Jose asked me if I wanted to work with them in Livebook. They had
Okay.
started like I think Livebook was 1 year
Okay.
old. It was 2022, July 2022.
Uh-huh.
And I said, okay, I was trying to build this startup. It didn't work. I love Elixir. We know each other very well. So, I don't know, maybe more
Right.
than a decade. Why not? That would be awesome. So that's what I'm doing. I'm mostly working on Livebook and with the Dashbit team
Yep.
and Elixir Radar as a personal project.
Got it. So as a parentheses, if people haven't put done advertising in Elixir Radar, do it. I think I have yet to do it because I'm too slow and the slots get filled because it's so popular. But it's so good because even when I get a blog post there, I think the most hits anytime. So
Thank,
just
thank you.
a huge plug from my side from actually reading Elixir Radar and also uh, trying and failing to get a couple of a little advertisements in there.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you doing that. It's so Elixir Radar is so good. I feel like it's the only newsletter I think I still consume every week. So
Cool. Cool.
from Elixir, I think maybe hacker newsletters. Anyway, that's not Elixir related. But what are you doing with Livebook? Because that's the other thing. So I had you in my head basically like before I met you, right? As like Plataformatec co-founder, um, Elixir Radar. I remember because I subscribed to Elixir Radar when it was Plataformatec's thing, and I remember the transition when you started doing it personally, and you sent an email that you explained everything, and then you started signing your name at the bottom, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it feels so personal now. I like this. It's really nice. And then I know from Twitter that you do Livebook stuff, but I actually don't know. Like, what are you doing with Livebook
Yeah.
on that?
I think an easy way to explain is I'm doing like so. Uh, it's starting like how everything besides the development of the project itself is what I'm doing. It's not so an easy way to explain, but what's that for real? So when Jose asked me if I could work with the team, one of the things was about like content and like promoting, bringing more awareness
Yeah,
for the project. So I started to work on blog posts and like videos, social media, that kind of stuff. It was a good fit for me because that's the kind of project that needs people, an ideal person for that kind of position role is someone who knows about the tech side, but also knows has some skills in the marketing and business side. So
yeah.
that's how I started to like bringing everything together. And so I started doing that, basically content, educational content about Livebook. And but also we had this idea that we wanted to make the development of Livebook more financially self-sustainable. So
Okay,
Livebook is 100. It's not 100% actually, but it's mostly sponsored and financially sponsored by Dashbit. We also have
right.
other sponsors that we're very grateful for. Fly.io and Tigris. They also
Oh,
sponsored
they
it.
sponsor some Livebook.
Yeah, yeah. They
And
are.
what shape does that take? Is this like GitHub, like not a GitHub sponsor, some other capacity? Like how are they sponsoring it?
Oh, they can give us money for
They're just like,
they
here's a
believe.
chunk of money for okay, gotcha. Wow,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
keep developing it. That's interesting. How did that
yeah.
how did that come about? If you don't mind me asking.
Actually,
Like
so with Fly, I was before I joined the project, I think. Yeah, probably. So Joseph was probably in touch with the Fly.io guys, and they are also very into the Elixir community.
for sure,
I'm
yeah.
um, and with Tigris, it's probably more or less this like so. Tigris has this very close relationship with Fly,
Okay,
and I also as a user also I love both of the products. They're very good.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that was it. And also we had some relationship as well. Yeah, so Hugging Face as well. Hugging
Oh, with Hugging
Face.
Face too. Okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is
yeah.
awesome. I didn't know. Okay, so it's mostly funded by Dashbit still, right?
Yeah, it's Dashbit. So those are like sponsors, and Dashbit is like the one who employing the people who are working on the. So that's Jonathan Klosko
Uh-huh.
from
Yep.
from Poland, and we also had and we also so the way the Dashbit team works, we have this service called Elixir Development Subscription that we sell to people to companies that are using or adopting Elixir,
Right.
so they can consult with like our team, that's Joseph, and Wojtek.
And
And
that's like you said, that's not development, right? It's more like I've read this before. I can't
yeah,
remember, but it's like
so
you ask
yeah,
questions, you get like that kind of thing, right?
you
Maybe
can
code
ask
reviews
questions
sometimes or
through,
something.
yeah, exactly. You can ask questions through like calls. You can have calls with our
Okay,
team. You can ask for code review, and you can ask questions through email as well. So it's basically, yeah, that's how it's the shape of the service. Yeah.
got it. And it's a subscription though. It's like a company
Yeah, and
comes
a
and subscribes
subscription, you
monthly or
pay
something.
you
Got it.
you you pay a monthly value for that to enroll a certain number of developers or engineering managers from your team within the
Got it.
program. Yeah,
Got it. So it's per person, not per company. Yeah,
yeah,
which
it's per
makes sense. You
seat.
can't get
Yeah,
a company with like yeah, gotcha.
they have because
The number of
100
questions.
people we couldn't handle, so it's
Exactly.
per. So usually what they do is if there's more startups, like one or two people, if it's a bigger company, they have like maybe some people from each team or something like that who are working on different areas.
Got it. Okay.
And so that's actually what's paying the bills.
Okay.
So, and
That's
then
good.
yeah, we are lucky enough to, and then we invest everything else, every money that we make in open source. So that's Livebook, that's the contributions to all of the projects that our team members work on. That's like Acto, that's Rack,
So much. Yeah,
that's
there's so much
yeah,
stuff. I
yeah,
always think
that's
it's
Annex, all of those projects, and we are contributors or maintainers. Yeah,
it's amazing. It's amazing how much stuff Dashbit produces. It's if Dashbit were not around, I think we'd be like very I don't know. Anyway, the community would be way worse off. I mean, obviously, but I just think there's so much work that comes out of that. It always surprises me.
yeah. It amazes me as well. It's cool because it's a very different type. The style of work it's very different than what we used to do at Plataformatec. So Plataformatec was more like a formal business. We had marketing, we had sales, we had HR, we had like all of those areas,
Right.
dozens of people. And Dashbit is very small. Like right now we are, I don't know, maybe five. Um, and we don't want really to grow a lot. We are and it's a different way of working for me at least because it's and then that's actually a way that I want to work from now on. It's like remote, async. It's more chill. We don't have like as long as we're making enough money,
Yeah.
we're okay. Like that's the we're
Right.
not
You're
talking
not
about
like
like piles of money, just enough to have a go life. Yeah,
yeah. That no, I love that. I love that because I think there is sometimes there's a pressure to grow, and if you don't question it, it's like why, right? Like why? And you
exactly.
start having jobs that you don't like. Maybe you start having to manage people and all this stuff, and so I get that. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's a very
so
mature and good thing to know about yourselves, right? That you want like this is what
yeah.
we want. This is what we're trying to accomplish, and you are doing it, which is awesome.
Yeah. And then so I was talking about I just remember the first question was
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
do in my
Yeah.
book. So
Sorry.
that was content and we wanted to so we're talking about what's paying the bills and but we also we wouldn't mind to have more other lines of revenue,
Right.
because it's good to diversify. So we wanted to have this product to fund in total, or at least part, development of Livebook. And we've been working for a while in this product I call Livebook Teams.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So yeah, so Livebook Teams, I'm also in charge together with Jose with the roadmap, that's it's like product management of that part as well. And so that and support. So we're still in beta, and we have a few hundred people there, and I'm
Oh
like doing
wow.
support every now and then when they have some question. I'm the first one who talks to them. I'm sending emails to them. We have like a Slack and a Discord private for the beta testers. So I'm always doing support as well. So
Okay.
that's my job.
Okay. And Livebook Teams. You say like hundreds of people who are already subscribed to the
The,
beta, like by paying beta.
yeah, they signed up. I think 500 people signed up for the beta.
Wow.
They're not active. Not everyone is active, like using it.
Are they paying?
But no, it's still
Okay,
free.
it's not. Got it.
No, it's not paid yet, but it's gonna be a paid service.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We wanted to have enough of a feature set, so we think it's good for start charging it and get some feedback. We're very
Got it.
close. I think maybe in the first quarter of next year. I think we're
Oh,
gonna
nice.
launch the yeah.
That's
Finally,
awesome.
actually, I think it's more than a year though. When Joseph brought me, we already had this idea, and we did some changes. The first idea was to make it like a 100% on premises product that you have to install
Okay.
it in your own infrastructure, run by yourself. And now it's a mix of on premise and as a service. So we had to change the architecture, but yeah, we also was not rushing it. We wanted to
Yeah.
take our time, but it's close. Hopefully,
Eh,
let's
yeah. What's the value prop there for teams to use Livebook
yeah
Teams?
yeah. So one of the things that when people join the beta, I ask them what they are using Livebook for,
Right.
because Livebook is like a generic general purpose tool. It's like a code notebook like Jupyter.
Yeah.
But interesting
It can do
fact is
so much
that
now.
yeah, and I think different than Jupyter. So Jupyter, I think was I was not a user of Jupyter, so I can't say by
Sure.
experience. But from what I've heard and researched, it looked like was mostly embraced by the data, like data scientists, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, my understanding.
Uh, but Livebook, I'd say, was mostly embraced by developers because we
Yeah,
are
that's
mostly
true.
developers in our community. So Livebook started because as part of the NX umbrella of
Yeah.
projects,
Yep,
for because of machine learning. I think Joseph figured, okay, so if you're investing in machine learning, and one of the tools that is important in that area is a code notebook, and so that's how my book started. And but when I started to ask people what they're using my book for, was data science stuff was not the main use case. It's definitely one of them, but we
sure.
have lots of different use cases. And one of
Right.
the use cases that we are betting that's going to be maybe one of the first things that iBook Teams is going to be useful for is building internal tools.
Yeah. I feel like that's what people
So
use it for. Yeah.
yeah, all sorts of like internal tools. Maybe is something for the engineering team that are doing support, they're on call, and they need to run some kind of script. So instead of running like a script, they can have a notebook, like those kind of run
Yeah.
books. And or maybe they are building internal tools for their support agents, for their product team, that kind of stuff. And in Livebook, one thing that's very cool that unfortunately I think lots of people know about it. We have this idea of Livebook apps.
Yep.
So
Right.
a Livebook app is a way to transform your notebook into a web app. It's like a mini
Yeah.
web app, and basically we only show like the user like inputs. Like we can have like forms, you can have charts, you can have all of those basic controls in a web app. And I think it's a good solution. So instead of building a whole Phoenix project for those small tasks that you have, you can build a Livebook app, and then you can use Livebook Teams to deploy that Livebook app to your own infrastructure. So
Interesting. Because I was going to
that's
ask, how do you deploy the Livebook? I understand the concept of the Livebook app because in the background, I know like it's doing a whole bunch of stuff with Mix and stuff. But how do you deploy a Livebook app? Is it only possible to do it through Teams?
no. We wanted to have a way for you to use Livebook apps without needing to buy or use Livebook Teams. So you can, so a code notebook, everyone, like not everyone, but lots of people know how it works. And if you want to, you can preview your app locally. So for example, for Elixir Radar, I built a couple of Livebook apps for myself that I just run in my own machine. So every week, part of my
Brilliant.
publishing
Yes.
processes, I deploy in my own machine, which is just using like we have this preview feature in Livebook that we can you can preview your notebook as an app locally, and that's what I'm
Uh-huh.
doing. I just have those apps running on my own machine for my personal use for Elixir. So that's one way. But then if you
Okay.
want to allow other people to use your Livebook app, you need to put it on a server probably. So one
Okay.
way to do it, we have this feature inside Livebook that you can deploy as a Docker image. So what Livebook is going to do is going to generate a Docker image containing Livebook itself and your
Yeah.
Livebook app, which is just like this livemd file.
Uh-huh.
And when you run this image, it basically like run the app or all the apps that you deployed inside their image. So that's one way you can distribute as a Docker
Got it. So you,
image. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, you grab the Docker image, you throw it somewhere, you run it.
Yeah,
It's like
you
it's
can
got
run it
everything.
anywhere.
Okay.
And the last way, that's through Livebook teams, is if you create a Livebook teams organization, uh, part of the setup process is that you need to install what we call a Livebook app server, application server in your own infrastructure, and
Okay.
that is actually just Livebook, the open source Livebook with a different configuration, with a different environment
Oh,
variable
interesting.
to
Yeah.
be run like as a like to be run as an application server for Livebook apps. So
Okay.
we run this, and that application server connects to your Livebook teams organization so they can talk to each other.
Okay.
And once that's done, if I'm developing a Livebook app in my own machine, I can click a button that says deploy with Livebook Teams. And
Sure.
Livebook's gonna send my application to Livebook Teams, which is running on Fly. We're using Fly for Livebook Teams. And then Livebook Teams is gonna distribute that to the application servers that you configure. So
So
it's
you're
a way,
sending
yeah, it's
are
a
you
way
sending
to help you to deploy your Livebook apps to your own infrastructure.
That's amazing. What are you sending over the wire? Are you sending like
We
a
are
dot like what?
sending we are sending a zip file and encrypted. That's also very was since the beginning we were very big into security. So every Livebook Teams org they have their own, we call it Teams key. It's just a key that
Uh-huh.
we use to encrypt everything. Your secrets, like like API client API credentials, that kind of stuff, and even the
Right.
source code of your apps. So we
Okay.
zip all of that with your encryption key and send that to Livebook Teams. And Livebook Teams, we stored that. I think we stored it on Tigris on a
Oh
bucket.
wow.
And we can read it because it's encrypted with a key that we don't have access to, but your app server can because it also has access to your Teams key. So then we send that. So why we're doing this? Because we wanted to have a simple way to you can deploy apps with the click of a button. That was the idea. Once you do the setup,
Right.
because the other way you had to generate a Docker image and you have to upload and there we also build other features on top of it. So, for example, we are working on um, like single sign-on authentication. So we integrate
Okay.
if you want to once you deploy your Livebook app internally, you probably don't want everyone to access it. So if
Right.
you want, you can use like Okta or your Google Workspace to make sure that only your employees are accessing it. And this is a
That's
feature
awesome.
that only comes with Livebook Teams, for example. If
Got it.
you using the other way, Docker image, what you're gonna do is you can like use a proxy. There we actually offer some integrations with authentication proxies like Tailscale, Cloudflare, Zero Trust, and Google. Google IAP as well. But so
Wow.
yeah, that's it's actually a very interesting architecture. It was very different than the usual web app, and
Yeah.
I'm actually planning to. So I'm gonna give a talk about Livebook at um, AlchemyConf in Braga, Portugal next year
Okay.
in
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
April.
Oh, okay.
And I don't have the details about the talk yet, but I wanna. I think one of the things that I want to talk about is this architecture because it's it's like it's a distributed system, and
Yeah. It's
but we can
fascinating.
use but we can use Elixir distributed because it's not the
Right.
same network. So it's
Yeah,
at least
yeah.
three parts. You have Livebook in your own machine, you have Livebook in the cloud, like actually Livebook Teams on the cloud, and then you have Livebook running in application server mode in your own infrastructure, and you need to send data back and forth actually because so it's kind of interesting application and system to work on.
Yeah, that is fascinating. I think you should definitely include that in the talk if you can.
Yeah.
I didn't know, I don't think I understood that whole connection. I feel like I've seen a talk somewhere, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it was one of your videos talking about it, but I did not realize that's what you were doing. That's cool. That's
Yeah, it's
interesting.
very cool to see like the whole real time thing that we wanted to have with Elixir,
Yeah.
and like that happening with three different pieces in different parts. So it's very when it. I remember like the first time I worked it was kind of cool. Yeah,
Nice. Yeah, I bet.
yeah,
I bet that was like a fun, like, oh, it's working.
yeah,
There's so many, there's three, the fact that you're using three different live books basically, right? It's fascinating to me, the live book server and all this stuff. Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So Livebook in your machine, Livebook on your infrastructure is Livebook, the open source project on GitHub. But Livebook
Right.
Teams is a different Phoenix project.
Right. It's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the yeah. I got you. Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Got it. Um, Hugo, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I did want to ask about one more thing. I actually want to ask you two more things, but
okay.
three
Let's.
three more things. I could talk forever. Again, I'll try not to. I'll make sure we don't go over too much. But I know you've also been working on Elixir Patterns, right? Book that
Yeah,
you just finished recently with Alex, because I bought that book. People go buy that book as well. If you're listening, how did y'all decide to do this? And like, I know you pre-sold, right? Or well, not pre-sold. I
yeah.
bought it before it was finished, and you went ahead and finished it recently, if I'm not mistaken. One, why did y'all decide to do an Elixir Patterns book? How did you team up with Alex? How's that
That's
going?
yeah. That's a good story as well. So I was working on Elixir Radar, and so Elixir Radar has a good audience. We have about 9,500 people subscribing
Wow,
to this newsletter, something around that.
nice.
And I was already like looking for sponsors, like companies who have services or products that are useful for Elixir developers.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to continue to have them. But I also wanted to. So I had this audience, and my marketing mind keep telling me, okay, so well, maybe you can do a little bit
Yes.
more. And I, I I started to think, okay, I think I'm gonna do. Um, I think maybe I'm gonna work on a series of screencasts. So
Yeah.
I was very inspired by this story from this guy from the PHP community. What was the name of it? He created the Alpine JS library.
Uh,
Um,
Caleb Porzio?
yeah, Caleb
Is
Borgio.
that
Yes, he
okay?
has this very cool blog post. So I was always very interested in how to make open source a little bit more financial sustainable.
Yes.
So
Huge question. Huge.
yeah,
Okay.
that's hard. I don't know. I'm working. with open source for my whole career, and I think that there's no definite answer, but so
Sure.
people are trying all sides of different things. In Kelly Porcio, he was able to make enough money to fund development of the project that he was working on, like Alpine,
Uh-huh.
Yes, and then Livewire, inspired by Liveville. And he has this very cool blog post about how he made, I think, was $100,000 per year with GitHub sponsors.
Oh wow.
And so what he did was, and that's, I think that's one question. Like just asking for money because it made open source. I think I believe that doesn't work. You need to,
Yeah.
unfortunately, you need to deliver even more. Like the free part is not enough. So
Yeah.
what he
Yeah.
started to
Right. It's
do,
true.
yeah, he started to work on those screencasts, and the screencasts they were paid. And if you the way to pay it, you turn into
Oh.
one of his GitHub sponsors like for his GitHub account, and then he's like, and that made me think, okay, maybe I can do screencasts. I already have a way to make people aware about it, make Elixir Radar. So Elixir Radar is
Yeah.
free, is gonna continue to be free, but it's work that I do every week, and I wanted to make that sustainable as well. So I thought, what about maybe I'm gonna work on screencasts. I'm gonna like,
Right.
but then I thought, okay, that's gonna be a lot of work. I don't know if I have the time.
It is a lot of work. I gotta
you
tell
you
you, it's a
you
lot of
you
work.
you you are the ones who know about that, right?
Oh man, yes.
Yeah.
Too much work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work and video especially. So it's hard for me. I think I'm more used to text, to blog posts, that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
so I thought maybe I could partner with someone in the community. So Alex was one of the people that I reached out for, because of Elixir Radar, I was reading a lot of his blog posts, and I
Right.
always like it. His content was very, very good. And I think I sent an email to him saying, "Hey, I have this idea. Would you like to work on those screencasts? And I could be responsible for the other parts, like everything that's not about the screencast stuff, like maybe editing, promoting, marketing, all the
Yeah.
rest, the thing
Well,
people don't sometimes don't know that is happening. I
yeah.
can do that, and we can use Elixir Radar to bring awareness to it. And he agreed, but then he brought this other idea. So what if instead of screencasts, we make a book? I had this idea of all those patterns that I've been doing along my Elixir
Yeah.
career that I think would be useful to share with people. And that's how the project started. And so Alex is the one writing, and I'm editing and promoting, and support as well. Like some people, they bring erratas or they have some problem buying the book, that kind of stuff. So um, that's how our partnership works. And we decided to pre-sold it. That was also my marketing mind talking. I
Did
was
you like that? Did you like
uh
it? Like
a hundred
pre-selling it and
percent,
being able?
a hundred
Okay.
percent. I
Nice.
think was so. I would suggest to anyone to do that. Like the only downside is that one can ask themselves, what if I don't finish this? So people already gave their money to me, and
Yeah.
so now I have this
Yes, that is
pressure
the
to
hard part.
finish. I
Yeah.
can we can say from experience, because it took us longer to finish the book than we thought, actually. So this is
Yeah.
not my first book. I actually wrote a book and was the main author, but for the Ruby community in Brazil. Is a book
Okay.
written in Brazilian Portuguese about
Okay.
doing TDD with Ruby.
Nice. I didn't know
Yeah,
you were a
I
2D. I
really
mean,
love
I
it.
guess you were a 2D guy from when we first
Yeah,
started talking, but I love that. Nice. Okay, okay, okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, it was about RSpec and Cucumber, and so based on that experience, I remember that it took me like 1 year to write a book. Was Writing a book is very hard,
It is. Yep.
and So, and I think for Elixir Patterns, maybe it was even more, maybe 2 years. And but pre-selling, pre-selling the book was, I think, was a good decision. Like he told us that people were interested,
Sure.
and we actually, I think, in terms of sales, the the time period that we sold the most was when we had the list of the book complete. So
Right.
when we
It's a
lo-
pre-sale beginning, exciting. Yeah, gotcha.
yeah, so but yeah, now it's like 99% finish it,
Wow.
and hopefully I think also, so the content is complete. We are doing some small fixes here and there, and probably next year, 2025, first quarter, we're gonna launch it. And by launching, it means
Nice.
that we are going to start charging after the launch the full price. So right now,
Oh,
I
because you've
think
been charging
it's,
a
yeah.
reduced, right?
So yeah, we've been giving, I think it's 33% discount. It's 49
Okay.
dollars, and after this launch, it's gonna be 79. And
Nice.
another interesting thing about this book as well is that since I was working on Livebook, I told Alex, "Hey Alex, what if we, instead of like zipping the PDF with the the source code snippets of each chapter, instead
Yeah.
of sending the EX files, we can send like Livebook files so people can start playing and with the
Interacting with it.
code
Yeah.
interact." Yeah, I think was that was a very good decision as well. So the book comes with the whole PDF, almost, I think,
Yeah.
almost 300 pages at this moment,
Wow.
and
I
every
need to check it.
chapter, yeah, it's kind of big,
That's
and
good.
every
I don't know. I mean,
chapter,
I like that.
yeah, yeah, and every chapter comes with one or a few live book notebooks, and yeah, so, and that was very cool as well. Like I think I think that would be a suggestion that I'll give for the people working on Elixir books. I don't know, maybe I would even just do the live book parts. Maybe, I don't know, because you can
Interesting.
use you can use the markdown, and sometimes had to like copy and paste code here and there. But
Yeah. I
yeah, that was,
that's what I have to do all the
yeah,
time.
that
Yeah.
was that was different as well to the other books that we have in the community.
And did you ever consider at the beginning, like if you didn't have enough interest, to just refunding? Like what would have happened if not enough people
Yeah,
were interested at the
I,
beginning?
I don't know.
That's my
I think
fear
we
with
would.
pre-sales.
Yeah,
That's my fear.
I
It's like,
think
oh,
I think
like 10 people signed up. I don't want to spend the next 2 years doing this just because, 10 people bought it or something.
I think I would refund. We definitely would refund everyone. Like if we don't if we didn't finish the book. I don't know. Maybe if I had like 50% of the book done, maybe people could ask, "Hey, I don't know, we charge you this whole amount, but unfortunately, we're not gonna finish the book. You can ask for a partial refund. How much you want to refund, something like that." But yeah, definitely a refund, I think, would be the right the call that we would have done. But
It wasn't like a fear going into it. Like if there's not enough people, we have to refund or anything like that.
no, I don't remember feeling fear of that. We
Nice.
were, I think the only part that brought anxiety a little bit was it's taking longer than I expected. And actually, so we had some family and personal issues along the process that we had to invest time on, so we couldn't continue to work on the book the
Okay.
the as much time as we wanted to. That also made the book take a little bit longer, so that brought a little
Okay.
bit of anxiety. But besides that, I think was okay. And I don't remember like any reader. Like we at this moment we have 1,200 copies sold. Yeah,
Wow.
so yeah,
Nice. Nice. That's
uh,
awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome.
We're
1200.
very happy with that as well. And I can't even remember like someone complaining or something like that. They were very understanding that was taking a little bit longer than expected, maybe. But um, at most, someone would send an email and say, "Hey, this is the last chapter that I got. To have a new one?" And I would answer, "No, unfortunately, but we are working on it."
We're working on it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Got it.
and they'll be very understanding. I'm grateful for that as well.
Nice. That's awesome. Um, I wish we had more time. I'm gonna just plant a seed for some other time when I can talk to you. Since you're so into marketing, which I love, by the way. It's something not that I love marketing. It's one area that I tried to get better at because I'm just terrible at marketing. I think. Um, every time I talk to people, I actually talk about this at ElixirConf with several people this year, which is how do we how do we make Elixir more popular? How do more companies adopt it? Like, there's this constant conversation, right? People have different ideas. My thought is always we need more marketing. Like, we're all developers. We all want to say like we need these products or these libraries. I don't think we need anything. Like, Elixir has so much amazing stuff, and I think we need more marketing. Like, not just marketing, I don't know what type of
Yeah,
marketing. I just know that when I hear, like, when people adopted Rails, for example, some of the reasons for it were like, I mean, like, that DHH blog post talk was so like, everybody knows about it. It's like blog post in 15 minutes or whatever. Um, but that's one of the things that, like, the Rails community was really good at, I think, is marketing, not in the traditional like marketing sense of like
yeah,
paid ads or something, but they were so good at positioning it that people really adopted it. And I think there was a whole host of things, I think, why Rails thrived so much at that time. But, like, I don't know. Anyway, that's just my thought. That's my answer every time I'm talking to someone in the conference and they're like, "How do we make Elixir more popular?" I'm like, it's not about libraries. I think at this point, like, think about everything we have. It's like tremendous. I think it's about marketing, like getting,
yeah,
I don't know, marketing to people so they're excited about it, so that companies adopt it and all this stuff. But anyway, I'll have to talk to you about sometime. You have the
yeah,
marketing mind. Now I know.
yeah,
Now I know.
yeah. I have,
That can be another.
yeah, I can say I do have. I like marketing. I have some experience with that. But I was always mostly into the strategy part. So, for
Mhm.
example, I think just talk a little bit briefly about that subject. So, for Ruby, I think one of the big parts that helps with actually not Ruby Rails
Yeah.
is DHH. I just think
Yeah.
he's not doing 100. I think he's not doing on purpose, but the way that he
Right.
do and what he does, it helps a lot with marketing.
Yeah.
So like just like one person doing being their own person, like his personality helps with that. And
Yeah.
I'm not,
Exactly.
for example, I'm not that kind of guy. I'll be able to do marketing the way that he does, for example. But
Right.
and I agree with you that I don't think to increase adoption is a matter like the bottleneck would be is a technical bottleneck. I don't think as well. I
Right.
think
I don't
we're
think so.
very mature in terms of the technical aspects. There'll always be opportunities for improvements, like
Sure.
maybe um, people say that sometimes they have challenges with the functional programming, or I mean, no, I don't know, but I believe that it's mostly about. So one of the things that people are doing, I can see lots of people doing in the community these days, at least last few months, is they are trying to talk about Elixir in other communities.
Right. Yeah.
So
That's
I
good.
think that's one of the that's a cool thing to do. That's a useful activity.
Yeah.
But that's a big question that I also like to have an answer, and unfortunately I don't.
Yeah.
But 100% to into helping make it that reality more and more as well.
Yeah. We'll have to think of something, and I'm sure this is something we could talk about for a long time. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah. All right, Hugo, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate this. It's awesome chatting with you. I'm glad I got to meet you ever so briefly at ElixirConf this year, and I hope maybe next. If you go next year, I don't know if I'm going
Yeah.
to go to. I might be at other conferences, but I think for sure I'll be at ElixirConf next year. So maybe that'll be the time.
Yeah, yeah, I want to be there as well. I don't want to miss any more of those cool conferences. So fun to meet all of those people that we I just know for like Twitter and now Blue Sky and that kind of stuff. So meeting in person is different, and I'll definitely be there. And I also want I'm planning to be the first time next year in Elixir Conf Europe as well. So
Oh,
besides the
cool.
Alchemy Conf in April, I want to go to Elixir Conf Europe for the first time. And yeah, I'll
Nice.
and want to meet more people in person. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's always nice in this remote world. It's like really nice to just connect in
yeah,
person every once in a while.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, Hugo, thanks so much, man. And have a good day.